Divine Manifestation of Wealth, 7 Miraculous Keys to Unlocking Supernatural Abundance Revealed. In the heart of a quaint rural town, a single mother named Mary found herself caught in an onslaught of eviction notices and unpaid bills. Her modest home, once filled with laughter and warmth, now felt like a prison of despair. Yet every day, before the sun cracked open the horizon, Mary knelt by her bed, hands clasped tightly, eyes lifted in fervent prayer to St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless cases. She cried out for a miracle, for anything to break the chains of her financial struggle. The weight on her heart grew heavier with each passing day. Then, on a particularly dismal afternoon, Mary took her daughter, Lily, for a walk. They strolled past the church, where the stained glass windows gleamed like jewels. Mary paused, captivated by the sight. As she whispered a prayer, a soft breeze rustled the leaves, as if the very air held her prayers tight. Little did she know, the divine was stirring. Just days later, an unspoken sense of hope flickered within the community, sparking stories of miraculous provisions and faith-filled transformations, but it wasn't all uplifting. John's skepticism hung thick in the air like clouds before a storm. He challenged Mary's unwavering faith, questioning how a loving God could let her family suffer. His words dug into her heart like thorns, and Mary began to doubt. Where was divine intervention when she needed it most? Just as despair sank deeper, the congregation gathered, lifting their voices in collective prayer. They recounted testimonies of the miraculous healings they had experienced. In their fervor, Mary's heart began to stir with hope. Once more, before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Then came the moment when Mary faced a choice that tormented her soul. A job opportunity arose at a local factory, solid pay, steady hours, but it came with compromises, a betrayal of her values. She weighed her desperation against her beliefs, anxiety twisting her guts. The church buzzed with concern as fellow believers rallied around her, illuminating the heavy air with prayer. As they prayed, the atmosphere thickened with divine anticipation. In that sacred place, overwhelmed by emotion, Mary sank to her knees, begging God for mercy. In a climactic moment of collective faith, the church doors creaked open. With a thundering heart, Mary watched as a mysterious figure strode in. The atmosphere shifted as bundles of food, cash, and heartfelt donations cascaded from the benefactor's arms. Gasps echoed in the hushed crowd. And suddenly, it wasn't just for Mary's family. A wave of support swept through the entire community. Joy erupted as tears flowed freely. This was abundance beyond measure. But in that rejoicing, a cloud remained, shrouding the identity of the benefactor in mystery. Was this divine providence, or just a fortuitous coincidence? As Mary celebrated with her neighbors, her heart raced. What awaited next? Would her faith face another trial, or had something truly miraculous unveiled itself? The townsfolk, once gripped by doubt, now buzzed with questions, each eager to witness the wondrous unfolding of God's plan. Teetering on the edge of divine mystery, Mary felt the warmth of hope wash over her, while uncertainty lingered just out of reach. As the days turned into weeks, the town was alive with a renewed spirit of faith. Each morning, Mary could see glimpses of hope reflected in the faces of her neighbors. The mysterious benefactor had transformed not just her circumstances but ignited a spark of divine possibility within everyone. They shared meals, gave freely, and ensured no one felt alone in their struggles. Yet, questions still hung heavy like the low-hanging clouds of dawn. Who was the benefactor? Was this person a saint or an angel, sent directly from the heavens? Mary couldn't help but wonder. Each time she observed someone rummaging through donations at the church or lending a hand to another needy family, she contemplated if they were her hidden helper. One evening, as twilight draped its velvet cloak over the village, a prayer meeting was scheduled at the church. Lanterns flickered like stars, reclaiming the evening sky with warmth. As Mary took her seat among the gathered flock, she felt a swell of gratitude rush over her. She looked around, weary faces transformed by hope radiated around her. Each smile, each gleeful laugh, served as an electrifying reminder of what faith could accomplish together. As the pastor spoke, his words echoed divine promise: when we gather in faith, miracles happen. God is always at work in ways we cannot see. The congregation murmured in agreement, hearts beating in unison. Mary nodded, soaking in every syllable, a soothing balm to the aching heart beneath her ribs. Suddenly, at the end of the service, something remarkable happened. As people began to leave, someone whispered loudly, "Wait. There's a message." The church's bulletin board trembled with renewed excitement. The source of the mysterious support had finally revealed itself. The words were simple, urging all to meet at the community center the following Saturday to discuss a project benefiting the town, the return of shared resources to those in need. A ripple of excitement surged through the crowd. Yet, Mary's heart began to race for different reasons. Amidst the cheers and joyful exchanges, she felt uncharacteristically restless. While she wanted to embrace the excitement, shadows whispered doubts in her mind. What would happen to the generous gifts they had just received? Would dependence on others threaten the newfound unity? In silent contemplation, she prayed, "God, is this what you want for us? Or is it just a distraction from the work you've begun?" Her plea lingered in the air like fragrant incense, filling the spaces between hope and uncertainty. As the meeting date approached, divine anticipation hung thickly, hinting at revelations yet to unfold. Each night, Mary knelt by her bedside, her prayers fluttering like dandelion seeds into the cosmos, desperate for guidance. Would the meeting unearth hidden truths about the benefactor? Would they find clarity amid the newfound abundance, or would it lead them astray? She could feel the electrifying current of God's purpose whispering through the fabric of their community, urging them towards something magnificent. With each day that passed, her heart anchored itself deeper in faith, even as the waters of doubt ebbed and flowed. This was not just about her or her family anymore, it was about the whole community, standing together in faith. What wisdom would emerge in the collective gathering? How would they navigate the paths of generosity and responsibility ahead? Only time would unveil the masterpiece of God's design. The day of the meeting dawned bright and clear, as if the very heavens had conspired to bless their gathering. Mary awoke to the soft glow of sunlight streaming through her kitchen window. The warmth enveloped her, wrapping her in the promise of new beginnings. She prepared her breakfast with eager anticipation, her heart resonating with the pulse of hope shared by her neighbors. As she walked towards the community center, the air was alive with laughter and familiar voices. The streets were buzzing with people, and Mary noticed how each face wore a blend of curiosity and excitement. Children dashed around, their laughter a joyous melody flowing through the gathering. It tugged at her heart, filling her with fond memories of the innocent days when life felt simple and carefree. Upon entering the community center, she was met with a wave of joy echoing from her neighbors. The room was alive, adorned with colorful banners, courtesy of generous hands. The tables groaned under the weight of homemade treats brought by the congregation. It was a feast, an earthly celebration of divine provisions. The pastor stood at the front, his presence radiating warmth and authority. As everyone found a seat, Mary took a moment to observe the faces around her. She could see the longing in their eyes, hope sparking in each heart. The pastor raised his hands, as if inviting the divine presence into their midst. "Brothers and sisters," he began, his voice steady, "today, we stand here not to marvel at what we have received from our mysterious benefactor but to understand what we are called to do next." There were murmurs of agreement, hearts beating as one at his words. He paused, letting the weight of his statement settle in, and Mary could feel an electric charge fill the air. "We have been given so much, and now we must give back. With knowledge, we can unlock the abundance around us." A ripple of excitement stirred through the crowd, the air thick with divine electricity. God's abundance does not simply flow into us, it flows through us, he proclaimed, and at those words, a wave of understanding washed over Mary. Maybe this was it, maybe this was the plan God had crafted for them. As the pastor unveiled the first key to unlocking this supernatural abundance, he reminded them that it began with gratitude. Each day, express thanks for what you have. Speak it into existence. Gratitude shifts our focus from lack to abundance. Mary felt warmth spread through her soul. She envisioned all the faces of her neighbors, each one had been touched by the gifts they received. She started to understand that these were not mere handouts, they were seeds planted in fertile ground, waiting for the light of gratitude to help them bloom. As the pastor continued to share the keys to unlock the flowing treasure of God's grace, Mary found herself leaning forward, drinking in each revelation. Others began to share their stories too, their voices rising in unity, weaving a rich tapestry of faith and purpose. But just as the atmosphere reached a crescendo of hope and unity, a stranger entered the room. He was tall and cloaked in shadows, hovering at the entrance as if wrestling with his own internal struggle. Instinctively, every eye turned toward him, curiosity intertwining with concern. Mary's heart raced. Who was this newcomer, and how would he affect their meeting? Would the arrival of this mysterious figure bring more understanding of their benefactor or cast a shadow over the faith they were building together? The stirring in her heart urged her to take a step closer, yet fear held her back. What spiritual truths waited in the whispers of this man's presence? What revelations were on the brink of cascading into their lives? The question lingered, heavy in the air. What chance encounters might God weave into their story? As the stranger shifted uneasily at the entrance, Mary felt an unexpected pull in her spirit. Something about him stirred a deep curiosity, as if he carried a message too precious to overlook. The pastor's voice softened, aware of the shift in energy. "Welcome, friend," he said warmly, inviting the man into their gathering. The stranger hesitated, eyes scanning the room, assessing the faces of hope before him. A moment stretched, thick like honey. Then, he stepped forward, his stature shifting from shadow to light. As he moved closer, a faint glow seemed to radiate from him, an invisible energy that resonated with the gathering crowd. "What can you share with us?" one brave soul called out, breaking the silence. The man paused, and in that brief moment, Mary felt the weight of anticipation. This could be a turning point. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "I have journeyed long, seeking not only answers but the power to manifest change. I come bearing a message of abundance, but it comes with a price, reflection." A hush fell over the room. Mary sensed that everyone leaned in closer, spiritually attuned to the essence flowing from the man. "You see," he continued, "true abundance is crafted in the heart of gratitude and love. It requires us to examine the very fabric of our beings." He glanced around the room, his gaze lingering on Mary for a heartbeat longer. "You are all on the brink. You've been blessed, but have you taken time to unlock the profound gratitude within? Are you ready to shed the layers of doubt and fear?" Her heart thundered against her chest. Doubt? Yes, she had felt that weight, a sense of unworthiness mixed with wonder. What if their benefactor asked them to dig deeper than they had before? Mary watched as he breathed in slowly, as if gathering strength. Gratitude is the seed. When nourished through action and intention, it grows abundantly, transforming lives and communities. Speak your gratitude. Share it openly. Allow it to flow through every corner of your heart. The crowd nodded, some whispering affirmations. Mary felt something shift within her, a resolve igniting. The pastor stood once more, raising his hands high. "Let us embody this truth. Let us live as vessels of divine abundance." At that moment, a wave of prayer surged through the room. Voices intertwined like a symphony, each person sharing their truths, their thanks, their hopes. Prayers were lifted as hearts opened wider, echoing the stranger's call. But even amid the unity, Mary noticed a deeper shift. Conversations sparked in corners, people's spirits igniting with the prospect of action. The man's presence cast a divine light across their gathering. It felt as if heaven had briefly opened its doors, showering them with blessings. And yet, Mary felt an underlying hesitation. What if there was more? What if the stranger was here to guide them through trials they hadn't anticipated? As these thoughts danced in her mind, the stranger raised his voice again. "Are you ready for transformation? It begins when you confront the fears that bind you. Only then can the full measure of abundance be revealed." Mary's heart quivered at those words. Could they truly confront what lay within? What sacrifices would they need to make? The love surrounding them was palpable, yet a stirring sense of urgency grew alongside it. The pastor took a step toward the stranger, a knowing spark in his eyes. "Then let us begin this journey together to discover the depths of our faith." And with that, a collective breath was held, a readiness hanging in the air. What was about to unfold? Where would this journey take them? Mary felt the thrill of divine possibility intertwine with her apprehension. The meeting was taking a turn, one that could change everything. Would they embrace the fullness of all that was being offered? Would they be courageous enough to answer the call of transformation? The room shimmered with unity and potential, but as the moment pressed closer, Mary wondered what would they discover in the depths of gratitude, when confronted by the shadows. Within, the stillness hung thick in the air, a suspenseful pause as the stranger surveyed the eager faces, each person grasping at the edges of possibility. Mary caught her breath, realizing they stood at the very edge of a sacred doorway, inching toward a glimpse of divine mystery. Then, the stranger spoke, his voice steadying as he continued, "Transformation is often found within the fire of our trials. Would you dare to step into that flame?" His words rolled through the room like a gentle tide, washing over all in attendance. In every trial, there is a lesson. In every tear, a reminder of joy. Mary felt the truth in his declaration, stirring something deep within. She had wrestled with doubt, struggled with pain, but now there lay before her the promise of a brighter horizon. She could feel the hesitance of the gathered crowd shivering in tandem with her own uncertainty. The pastor nodded, emboldened, "Yes. Trials are not our enemies, but the very instruments that refine us. Let us embrace the journey. Each trial is a chance to deepen our faith." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, hearts responding, spirits lifting. "Begin," the stranger urged softly, "by acknowledging your shadows. Speak them into the light. Fear can only thrive in silence. Release it." He gestured, inviting everyone to share their burdens. One by one, voices trembled, breaking the silence. A woman spoke of grief that had lingered too long, a man shared his battle with loneliness. With each confession, the atmosphere thickened with raw honesty. The stranger's presence welcomed their vulnerability, transforming fear into fellowship. As Mary listened, she felt a stirring within her, her own struggle, wrapped tightly around her heart, begged to be unleashed. She began, her voice quaking as she reached into her soul. "I fear that my gratitude has been dimmed by disappointment, that my hopes have been suppressed by missed opportunities." Tears flowed as she spoke, heavy with the weight of unrealized dreams. The room held its breath. The stranger met her gaze with a warmth that softened her anguish. "Let it go, sister. For every moment of pain holds the power to birth a miracle. You are not defined by your disappointments, but by your ability to rise, carrying gratitude like a torch in the night." Suddenly, the room brightened as emotions surged. Others began to reflect, exchanging their fears for affirmations. "I am worthy," echoed one voice. "I choose joy," rang another. The symphony of declarations filled the space with an uplifting energy, awakening the dormant hearts. Mary felt filled with hope. How could such simple exchanges yield such profound change? "We are the architects of our own faith," she whispered to herself, the truth igniting her spirit. "Indeed," the pastor affirmed as the stranger smiled knowingly. "Abundance and wealth come from a heart anchored in gratitude, reflection, and faith. It is a cycle, what you give is what you receive. So, as you share above, so too shall you find blessings overflow." Just then, laughter erupted, a joyous release from a cluster of people exchanging insights on their revelations. A shared story of a recent kindness had turned into a conversation of blessings that transformed their struggles. Mary felt a swell of joy bubble within. Could they truly unlock the divine potential residing in each heart? Could the shadows that once loomed large become the stepping stones to supernatural abundance? The stranger raised his hands high, a signal of unity. "Let us pray together. Let us join our hearts as one community, declaring our willingness to embrace transformation together." And as they bowed their heads in unison, Mary sensed the room vibrating with a pulse of divine energy, a subtle yet undeniable promise lingering in the air. What might unfold next on this journey toward abundance, of faith unshackled, lay tantalizingly hidden just beyond this moment. But as the prayers swelled, Mary couldn't shake the feeling that the true test was only beginning. Would they withstand the fires of transformation? What would be revealed when they surrendered completely to the divine? As the collective prayers cascaded upward, a profound stillness enveloped the room. It was a peaceful surrender, each person immersed in contemplation, hearts aligning with the divine behest to let go of their past burdens. Mary felt light, as if the heaviness that had long clung to her spirit began to dissolve. The stranger's gaze swept over the congregation, catching each individual in a moment of connection. "Remember," he began softly, "every trial bears the seed of transformation. In times of pain, purpose is often birthed." He paused, letting his words settle like gentle rain. The pastor nodded, sensing the deepening atmosphere of faith. "Adventure lies ahead, fellow believers. As we stand at this sacred threshold, let us not fear what we cannot control. Instead, let us trust in the divine plan that is unfolding." Mary could see it in her neighbor's eyes, the flickers of hope igniting, the recognition that something stirring was not simply emotional, but spiritual. They were tapping into a collective awakening, ready to embrace their divine destinies molded through trials. "Step forward," the stranger urged, gesturing with open arms. "Bring your gifts to the altar of change. What will you sow in faith to reap abundance?" Each moment shimmered with potential, as if the air itself held the hopes of their unspoken dreams. With renewed courage, Mary rose and stepped to the front, heart pounding with vulnerability and anticipation. "I offer my doubts," she declared, her voice steadying. "I release my hold on disappointment and choose trust. I long for a deeper relationship, with God, with myself." Her words spilled from her lips like an anthem of surrender. The moment felt electric, a tangible shift in the room. Others began to follow her lead, some stepping forward with offerings of hope, others with dreams yet to be realized. Each declaration rang out like sacred bells, echoing a commitment to face their fears together. "I will share my fear of not being enough," shouted a young man, his voice rising in unison with the swell of the congregation. "I embrace my potential for greatness," said a woman, clutching her hands as joy radiated from her. As every voice surfaced, Mary felt the energy coalesce, a shimmering light weaving through them, binding their intentions into a communal tapestry. Each confession drew them closer, not just to each other, but to a divine source that held infinite possibilities. "Even now," the stranger said, as if sensing their intertwining spirits, "a wellspring of abundance flows from the heavens, waiting to fill those open to receive. Acknowledge your deep desires, for each need voiced aligns you with heaven's bank of miracles." The atmosphere grew heavy with expectation. It was as if the very foundation of the building was vibrating, shaking off the remnants of doubt and despair. Mary's heart beat in rhythm with a sacred pulse, a sacred call to action echoing in her chest. Hope was no longer an abstract concept, it was a real invitation, beckoning them to step into a new realm of awareness. But as she sensed the shift, there was more, something deeper yet to be revealed. Without warning, the lights flickered, illuminating the stranger with an aura that shimmered like morning light breaking through clouds. "Remember," he spoke, his gaze piercing through Mary's heart, "transformation is not found where comfort resides. It blooms in the cracks of our fears and the shadows of our past." As the words washed over her, Mary understood. The path ahead required radical trust. It called for a deeper surrender to life's currents. What awaited them could be miraculous, or intimidating. Would they find the courage to keep pressing forward? As the stranger held their anticipation in silent power, Mary could only wonder at the mysteries lying ahead on this journey. Would they bear the fruit of their shared struggles and unveil their collective destinies? A breath filled with promise hung suspended in the air, stirring the gathering into the next phase of what lay beyond the threshold. They were standing at the cusp of divine revelation. And there, in that moment, the stage was set. What treasure awaited them on the other side of their shared leap of faith? As the flickering lights settled, an undeniable hush engulfed the room. Time seemed to pause, as if the universe itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what was next. Mary stood motionless, her heart thrumming in sync with the collective heartbeat of faith surrounding her. The stranger's presence radiated warmth, casting a glow that made each hopeful face shine brighter. "Now," he said, his voice a melody that resonated deep within their spirits, "let us dive deeper." His eyes, sparkling with truth, met Mary's gaze, and in that instant, she felt an invisible thread pulling her closer to an unfolding truth. "Each of you carries a unique light," he continued, compelling the entire congregation with his words. "But to shine, that light must be nurtured by the soil of trust and faith. Are you ready to cultivate it?" A chorus of murmurs filled the room, a collective affirmation echoing against the walls. Faith was no longer confined to whispers, it erupted like a burgeoning flame. Mary felt herself swell with excitement, her pulse quickening at the thought of stepping into this adventure together. "Let us talk about the keys," the stranger said, stepping forward and drawing closer to the altar. "These keys will unlock the doors to your divine abundance." With a graceful motion, he reached into his coat and revealed a small, ornate box. It shimmered, catching the light, and Mary's breath quickened at the sight. What mysteries did it hold? "This box represents your potential," he said, lifting the lid with delicate precision. "Inside are 7 keys that symbolize the gifts each of you has within. These keys will help you unlock the treasure that resides in your souls." "What are they?" A woman in the back whispered, her curiosity palpable. "Patience," he began, holding up the first key, its golden surface gleaming. "In your waiting, God is working behind the scenes. Each moment of uncertainty is shaping you." "And the second key?" someone else asked, eager and wide-eyed. "Gratitude," he replied, brandishing it like a talisman. "Thankfulness transforms even the smallest blessings into abundant gifts. A grateful heart unlocks doorways to joy." With every key, the stranger shared profound insights. "The third is courage," he proclaimed, a deep resolve lining his words. "To venture into the unknown, embracing what terrifies you, is to invite divine possibilities." One by one, the keys were revealed: love, faith, forgiveness, and service, each possessing a unique essence. Mary took each lesson to heart, feeling a swell of understanding grip her. "This," the stranger said, closing the box with a flourish, "is not merely for your individual journeys, but a communal inheritance, a way to lift each other up and create abundance together." As he spoke, a palpable energy shifted within the room. It was electric, shimmering like 1,000 stars. "Take each key and reflect on how it can cultivate your garden of faith," he encouraged. "What burdens will it lift? What power will it unleash?" The congregation leaned in closer, many nodding in comprehension. Mary felt tears glisten in her eyes as revelation washed over her heart, a readiness to embrace this call to action. But just then, a shadow flitted across the walls. A quick glance to the side revealed a dim corner of the sanctuary that stirred uneasily. Something was lurking, something not quite in harmony with the vibrant light filling the space. Mary's heart raced. Was it fear? Doubt? The stranger's gaze fell upon the shadow, reaching into the space between light and darkness. "What lies there is part of our journey as well," he advised, his voice steady. "What will you confront to claim this promise?" With expectation palpably thick in the air, Mary realized this was only the beginning. The keys were meant not just for illumination, but for confronting the unknown, and the shadows fed on unaddressed fears. Questions lingered in her mind, urging her forward. How would they face the darkness that lurked alongside their newfound light? The air vibrated with a tension that was both daunting and thrilling. What would be revealed once the congregation turned to that lurking shadow? Would their faith be strong enough to wield the keys against the unknown? As the silence stretched, tension rippled through the congregation, each heart beating as one, each soul prepared for a revelation. Mary could feel the weight of the stranger's words envelop her, urging her to confront the shadow lurking at the edges of their sanctuary. The stranger stepped back slightly, allowing his presence to settle into the room. "Remember," he spoke, his tone warm yet commanding, "light and darkness cohabitate in this world. To shine bright, we must engage with both, understanding that each shadow is an opportunity for transformation." The murmur of agreement vibrated softly through the air, but Mary felt a pang of anxiety in her stomach. How could they face whatever darkness dwelled there, hidden in the corners? "Will you take that step?" the stranger asked, his eyes now scanning the faces of the congregation, locking in on those quaking with uncertainty. "Will you bring forth your keys and claim your abundance, despite the doubts?" Mary inhaled deeply, feeling the push of her fellow believers around her. She could sense their resolve mixing with her own, kindling a rage against fear. It was an awakening of sorts, a pull to confront what was difficult rather than retreat into silence. Together, she whispered, half to herself and half to the collection of hearts surrounding her, "We will face it together." The stranger nodded, gratitude reflected in his warm gaze. "Let the first key be your declaration of faith. Hold it up and affirm the light within you. As one, their hands rose, shimmering keys glinting like tiny suns in the dim light. "We affirm our faith," they shouted, their voices a declaration against the encroaching shadows. At that moment, an electric current surged through the room, the energy palpable. The shadow shifted, stirring at the promise of their unity. "Fear not," the stranger encouraged, "let your collective courage embolden you. Embrace this moment. What you fear cannot withstand the light of your faith." Encouraged, Mary stepped forward, her heart bursting with conviction, and pointed her key toward the darkened corner. "You will not define us." The congregation echoed her words, their voices swelling together in an anthem of defiance. "You will not define us." As the echo faded, the shadow seemed to quiver, wavering before their collective brightness. For the first time, Mary saw its shape, a fleeting glimpse of discontent, a memory of doubt lingering long past its welcome. "It is not a monster," the stranger said gently, "but rather a collection of the fears you all carry. Only by facing it do you liberate yourselves. Face your fears," he continued, "and you may very well find that you have little to fear at all." With every word, the room felt lighter, the threat less daunting. Encouraged by the truth, Mary knew it was not just for her to explore, but for everyone. Each of them had shared burdens, with hands locked as one, they could claim freedom together. "I am here," she said firmly, addressing the darkness now emboldened by the stranger's wisdom. "We are here. And we choose love." In that instant, the light grew blindingly bright. A wave of warmth washed over Mary and her friends as a deep peace flooded the sanctuary, washing over the tension and fear. The shadows began to retreat, dissolving like mist under the morning sun. Yet, beneath that transient light, there remained a lingering challenge, a test of true faith. Mary realized they had merely begun to peel back the layers of their struggles. The stranger now stood tall, the box once again resting in his hands. "Remember, the keys still await you. Some shadows may flee easily, but others may need your steadfast hearts to release them. Are you ready to unlock the deeper truths within?" As eyes turned towards Mary, a spark ignited within her, an understanding that this was but the first layer of their shared journey. What awaited them beyond this confrontation? With anticipation thick in the air, the congregation collectively sighed, "Yes, we are ready." But whispers of uncertainty danced in Mary's mind. What deeper shadows still loomed? Would the keys truly unlock the treasures they sought? They had taken their first steps into the light, but the path ahead was still obscure, full of new revelations and struggles yet to be faced. What awaited them as they continued to explore the depths of their faith and the truths of their hearts? The air hung heavy with expectation as the congregation stood, their keys still shimmering in their hands. Mary felt a palpable energy flowing through the room, a divine current stirring her spirit. The stranger, having set their faith ablaze, now took a step nearer, his presence a binding force in this moment of awakening. "Now," he said, his voice gentle yet filled with authority, "we turn our hearts to the second key. This key is one of truth. The truth within you and the truth that binds you as a community." Mary felt a flutter of hope ignite within her. Truth had always been a beacon for the lost, it was light that revealed the path, even when darkness threatened to engulf it. She watched as the stranger held up the box, a tangible symbol of the journey they were embarking on together. "Will you dare to speak your truth?" he challenged, eyes discerning. "Will you let your authentic voices rise to meet the weight of your shared burdens?" With a deep breath, Mary raised her key high, her voice trembling but resolute. "I speak the truth of my heart. I seek healing for the brokenness within and around us." Others followed suit, inspired by her courage. "We speak our truths. We seek love in the face of fear. We seek healing for our wounds." A chorus of voices filled the sanctuary, each declaration like a brushstroke on a canvas of unity. The walls pulsated as each word resonated with the echoes of honesty, filling the air with raw emotion and fervent hope. "Listen," the stranger urged, raising his hands. "Do you hear how the sound of your truths interweaves? That is the sound of divine solidarity. Love and faith take root in the fertile soil of honesty. It can bring forth a harvest of abundance." Mary felt a warmth swell within her. There was power in vulnerability, an invincible strength hidden behind the layers of their fears. Suddenly, the shadow shifted again, a reminder of the challenges they still faced. The bright light surrounding them dimmed momentarily, revealing deeper shades of doubt clinging to the edges of their gathering. But instead of drawing back in fear, Mary and her companions leaned further into the promise of their revelations. "Together, we celebrate our truths," she declared, and the room seemed to pulse in agreement. "Whatever we have hidden, let it be known." She stepped forward, gripping her key, a newfound determination welling in her heart. "This weight we've carried, the silence that has suffocated us, it ends here. We choose to be unbound." The congregation erupted in an outpouring of raw emotion. Joy, grief, hope, and relief crashed over them like waves, their shared truths uniting to form an unbreakable bond. Mary could see the shadows falter, the pieces of darkness struggling to maintain their hold. "Remember," the stranger spoke, like a lighthouse guiding them past the storm. "Your truths will not only set you free but also unlock the treasures of the kingdom awaiting every heart here. Do not fear your honesty, it is your light." As they called out their intentions, the mist of doubt began to dissolve, replaced by a shimmering golden glow of unity and faith. Light danced among them, and Mary knew they were on the verge of something monumental. "We are ready for the gifts God has in store," she exclaimed, her spirit soaring. The light expanded, illuminating the sanctuary in a warmth that felt both heavenly and familiar, yet, as the glow pulsed with unearthly radiance, Mary felt a whisper of uncertainty in her heart. Would they be able to sustain this momentum? What other truths lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be discovered? As the light began to settle, the stranger's gaze captured hers once more. "The third key awaits, a challenge of surrender, a dance with trust. Will you encounter it with open hearts?" With that, anticipation thrummed in the air, a promise of deeper chapters ahead. The path to divine abundance lay open, but there was so much more to uncover. What would unfold as they learned to surrender fully? As the congregation stood basking in the radiant light of truth, an atmosphere thick with potential wrapped around them, Mary felt the warmth of shared faith dancing through the air, a vibrant current connecting every soul in the room. It was as if they had been carved from the same divine clay, molded into vessels of hope and transformation. The stranger, still glowing with an undeniable energy, turned toward the box that contained the keys. They were his gifts to their collective journey. "The third key," he began, a spark of urgency coloring his voice, "is surrender. This key invites you to let go of your control, to trust in a higher power, and to step boldly into the unknown. Only through surrender can you truly unlock the depth of your abundance." Mary's heart thudded in recognition. Surrender was both a challenge and a promise. She thought of the times she had tried to bear her burdens alone, wrestling with doubt and fear as if they were tangible foes. But this moment felt like the dawn of something new, a chance to give up the weight she'd been carrying. She raised her key, the cool metal warm against her palm. "We give up the need to know everything," she declared, her voice steady and resolute. "We release the burdens of our past and the weight of our worries. We trust your plan, God." Echoes of agreement resonated among her neighbors. "We surrender," came the chorus, louder and more united than before. Each declaration was infused with a collective breath, a prayer rising to the heavens like incense, swirling toward an invisible altar of testimony. As their voices soared, the shadow lurking once more flickered, losing its grip in the light of their faith. The stranger's eyes shone with encouragement. "Let this act of surrender fill your hearts, transforming the burdens you've carried into symbols of strength. In relinquishing your grasp, you align with the divine will." With every word, love pulsed through Mary's veins, flowing like rivers of joy washing over parched ground. She could feel the barriers of apprehension begin to erode. She visualized her fears dissolving beneath the power of surrender, allowing the seeds of faith planted within her to finally bloom. What freedom there is in letting go, she thought, yet the deep-rooted questions still lingered. What shadows will still cling to me? Whispered doubt, curling like mist at the edges of her heart. The strange tension reminded her that surrender was not a one-time act, it was an ongoing journey. "Your journey of surrender will unveil your good works," the stranger continued, pressing on. "Embrace this transformation by allowing your vulnerability to be your strength, your faith to be your compass, and your community to be your shelter." Mary's breath quickened, understanding washing over her like rain on thirsty soil. Her faith and the faith of those surrounding her meant they were no longer alone. Together, they could weather any storm, finding strength in each other as they faced the challenges ahead. In that electrified moment, everyone began to close their eyes, surrounding one another with conscious awareness, bowing their heads and inviting the Spirit into their hearts. What do we need to surrender? The collective voices whispered in earnest prayers. My need for validation. One woman's voice rang out, breaking the silence with courage. I surrender my anger. A man cried, cheeks wet with tears of release. My fear. Someone else added, and soon the room became an altar of confessions, hearts nourishing one another like vines intertwined. Mary opened her eyes and felt the collective wings of transformation unfurling. Every declaration felt like a feather cascading down, floating freely, filling the air with faith and light. As they surrendered their struggles and burdens, a profound truth emerged. Together, they could face the darkness, a darkness that grew smaller and smaller with the powerful light of their unity. Suddenly, as if the universe smiled upon them, a brilliant horizon shimmered in the distance. The stranger stood aloof, with the light spilling around him like sunlight breaking through a canopy of trees. You have embraced the surrender, now you stand poised to unlock your blessing. He proclaimed. The weight of unshed burdens could be felt lifting from the room. It transformed into an exhilarating current that sparked alive with hope. Mary sensed that the shadows had retreated significantly, their voices fading into echoes of courage wafting into the atmosphere. The stranger clasped his hands, and the air brimmed with electric anticipation. And now, he announced, his voice imbuing every heart with glee, we celebrate the key of service. This key binds us all, calling you to take action in love, generosity, and grace. Mary's heart raced with joy, knowing this was where the true manifestation of abundance began. Service is the extension of our gratitude, she exclaimed, and others joined in her growing passion. In serving one another, we unlock the doorways to our divine inheritance. As they collectively embraced the essence of service, a wave of inspiration swept through the room, powerfully latching onto each believer's heart. Outpourings of love and feedback circled like wind-blown petals. Encouragement flowed, ideas sprouted, and hearts ignited. What would this act of service yield? The question hung tantalizingly in the air, filling Mary with excitement as images of helping hands, warm hugs, and shared blessings danced through her mind. The stranger nodded with understanding. The blessings you've received now lead you to become blessings for others. Share your keys, your stories, your very selves. With fervor, the congregation began to share ideas, a community garden where all could thrive, meal-sharing programs to support struggling families, and mentorship initiatives to elevate the youth. Each thought sparked brilliance, igniting deeper connections and unveiling the possibilities ahead. It became vibrant, each intention woven together like a magnificent tapestry, celebrating the journey of transformation they were all embarking upon. As they envisioned their collective path, Mary felt an inexplicable sense of belonging, held firmly within this community soaring toward divine abundance. And amidst this powerful atmosphere of faith and unity, Mary glanced toward the stranger, whose light had transformed their lives in ways she hadn't anticipated. A thought flickered in her heart. Who are you? She wanted to ask. But as if he sensed her wonder, he smiled knowingly, inviting her to observe rather than question. Mary inhaled deeply, grounded in the present moment, as an overwhelming sense of gratitude washed over her. Gratitude for not only the abundance revealed but also for the trials that had led them here. The burdens that had once felt so heavy no longer shadowed her, they were stepping stones toward the light. As her heart soared, she noticed the entire congregation united, facing the dawn of their new beginning. It wasn't just a meeting, it was a manifestation, a divine unfolding of purpose. In this sacred space filled with possibilities, Mary felt invincible. Together, they would embrace their journey. What awaits us now? She mused, eyes sparkling with anticipation. The stranger, sensing the collective readiness, moved with purpose. Dear friends, he beckoned, let us commit to our shared vision, anchoring our service in gratitude, trust, and action. This is just the beginning. Who we are is a reflection of the divine. May every seed sown blossom beautifully in service unto others. Each heart resonated, blending into a powerful symphony of unwavering faith as a myriad of colors began mixing, enveloping the room in radiant light. Mary sensed a divine agreement establishing itself as they promised to carry the light of faith into their community together, ready to bring forth their newfound abundance. And in that celestial moment, as prayers merged like tendrils of smoke ascending heavenward, Mary knew this was what it meant to manifest divine abundance. This was their time. To all who are reading, know this, your journey awaits you. You, too, are called to embrace service, surrender, and the unyielding power of community. Now, you must take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the message of hope. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about this. Ending your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. True servants of God understand the importance of supporting our journey together. Let us shine our lights bright.